Yes, sir.
say good manner. And
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Megha, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Meher
Good
is here.
afternoon, ma'am.
Meher is here.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Meher, your team is here?
Yes, ma'am, my team is here.
Okay. So Priyanshi and Elizabeth both are here. Yeah, of course, Elizabeth is visible. Where is Priyanshi?
Ma'am, I'm here.
Okay, great. So we start exactly at 1 o'clock, Megha.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'll start the recording sharp at 1.
You start the recording right away because it takes time. It's so many people, it keeps buffering. So
Right, I'll just do it.
start right away. We'll maintain silence, right? And at the
Sure.
Meher, you can start with your preliminary remarks and
Yes, ma'am. Greetings to everyone present here today. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all for the presidential debate of the Student Council of the JMC Student Council elections. We have with us today the candidates for the today, which is Priyanshi Arora from third year BSc Mathematics Honors and Elizabeth Reggie from third year BA English Honors. Before we move ahead with the actual debate, I would like to read out the rules and regulations. First being, each candidate will be given 4 minutes to deliver their speech. There will be 2 buzzers that will be sounded, one at the completion of 3 minutes 30 seconds. The speaker would be expected to wind up with their speech in another 30 seconds. The second buzzer will be sounded on completion of 4 minutes. The first round of rebuttals will invite questions from the candidates. 1 minute shall be given for the same. Audience will get another 1 minute for questions in the second round of rebuttals. An additional time of 15 seconds will be provided to the audience and candidates to type in their questions in the chat box. Cross-questioning is not allowed. The speaker will get 1 minute for delivering their closing remarks. There should be no interruption while the speech is going on. No ad hominem or personal remarks should be made. Use of derogatory or defamatory language will lead to disqualification of the candidate. Candidates are requested to keep their videos on throughout the debate. With this, shall we move ahead with the debate? I request Elizabeth to start with her speech. Your 4 minutes of time start now.
Firstly, I would like to thank Dr. Sandra, our conveners, my president, the teaching and the non-teaching staff, and the whole student body for their support and cooperation during my vice presidential tenure. Throughout my tenure, I've learned so much, which I hope to use aid my efforts this year. Hi, I am Elizabeth Reggie and I'm currently pursuing English honors. I'm sure you know my name from one of the campaign materials that your groups have been spammed with, and also know that I'm standing for the post of President, Student Council for the year 2021-22. Most of you may know me as the Vice President, and others might have a vague memory of me from college, where I'm either seen being super loud or just beatboxing. So here we are, another year of a sad attempt at delivering a funny or something like that speech. I honestly hope that I would be doing this in the MPH with all of you there, but I guess things don't go as we plan. Having expectations is not the way to go. The core values of my agenda are being pro-student, inclusive, accountable, achieving academic and career-oriented goals, creating a safe space for every individual while focusing on intersectionality and offering a wholesome college experience for everyone at JMC. I've categorized my agenda based on their core purpose, which I also hope will help you to recognize my vision. Let's begin with the first category, student support. This includes a college bulletin board in order to efficiently relay college, society, and department related information. Forming a database of all booksellers in Delhi who deliver DU course materials pan India will also help outstation students. Also, that's a big if, and when college reopens, this would include creating an e-manual for outstation students, introducing online and offline peer tutoring schedules, creating a database for notes and study resources. That brings us to category 2, mental health and well-being. This includes introducing an online peer support group mediated by teachers from the psychology department and counselors where students can share their problems anonymously. I will also try to ensure easy availability and accessibility of counselors for students. Category 3 is intersectionality, introducing a collective that serves as a safe space for SC, SC, OBC students and students of the LGBTQIA plus community. Membership to these committees would completely be on a voluntary basis, but exclusively for the students belonging to the respective communities to ensure their safety. Also, I find it imperative to mention that the above mentioned point has been thoroughly researched upon and based on conversations with the members of these communities. Category 4 is social responsibility. Organizing a social responsibility week where we will work alongside compulsory societies and NGOs to conduct drives to contribute towards marginalized groups. Category 5 includes academic and career development goals, introducing an opportunity week in collaboration with the placement cell for workshops with CV writing, career guidance, alumni connect, etc., which will be held quarterly. I'm sure we are under tremendous pressure regarding these, and I hope this point will help. And that brings us to our last category. I can see relief on your faces. Category 6 is student connect based on interactions with some of the students. Here are some that like you have suggested. And I'm glad I could include them in my agenda. Introduction of general body meetings to bridge the gap between faculty and the student council and the student body meet through meetings to address grievances and suggestions. I would also like to work on acknowledging the achievements of societies and departments. Enhancement in college facilities, having bilingual signage around campus. Never mind. I don't want to take any more time. So yeah,
The speaker is elapsed all their time.
Thank you, Elizabeth. The floor is now open for questions from Priyanshi. Kindly type in your questions in the chat box. You have 15 seconds to do so.
Meher,
Meher, I have a request.
sorry for the interruption.
Yes, ma'am.
Let both speak and then you open the floor for questions.
All right, ma'am. So I request Priyanshi, the floor is open. Kindly start. Your time starts now.
All right. Hello and good morning, our learned teachers and our wonderful peers. I shall begin my speech today on a very nostalgic note. I still remember quite vividly my first day at Jesus and Mary College. I walked in with my head bowed down, very naive and dewy-eyed because that's how much I missed Bareilly, and that's the town I call my home. But in no time, the support system, or the Delhi survival kit, as most people like to address it, that I was able to galvanize for myself, gave me the microcosm of home in a new city altogether. Up until the inception of college, I learnt my curriculum well. I got exceptional grades, interacted with my classmates and professors. But coming to JMC ingrained in me the importance of right skills, the need for nurturing healthy relationships, and to play beyond the obvious. At college, I joined societies like the Entrepreneurial Cell, Cosmos, a WWF initiative, Project IFFAT by Enactus, Women's Study Center, the Girl Up Club, among several others. And although they inundated my schedule, they taught me things that I don't think I would have been able to learn elsewhere. This past year, the pandemic crisis has turned into an opportunity to push for privatization of education, which is an attack on the very structure of constitution. At a time when low-income students have been already hard hit by the government delays and disbursements of scholarships and restrictions over access to resources due to an ongoing poorly handled pandemic, the death of Aishwarya Reddy brought over a wave of anger over how apathetic, merit-oriented, and highly exclusionary institutions had driven young lives to depression and suicide. My heart wrenches reading all of this in my daily dose of news every morning, and it's only natural that I wish to change it. With the notice of all this, I will go over my agenda once. I wish to demand a reduction in fees and immediate disbursements of all pending scholarships, establish a Dalit OBC cell for addressal of caste-based discrimination and issues, formalize the Pehchan Queer Collective for the recognition of LGBTQIA students on campus, bring accountability to Students' Union with improved general body meetings. I also plan on introducing a mentor-mentee system for academic help, get access to study material and distribution of electronic devices and data cards to those in need. And I will push authorities to hire more mental health professionals because of how badly our psychological well-being has been affected due to the onslaught of problems that COVID brought with it. As I'm nearing the end of my time allotted to me to interact with all of you, I want to remind you that our batches are history in making. I mentioned the very word nostalgia at the beginning of my speech because it will be synonymous with what I feel when I'm out of college. The interactions I had all this while at JMC were answers to questions that, in retrospect, I don't think I'm even smart to configure now. I earnestly wish to promise everyone that I will stand by whatever I mentioned in my speech and will put my best efforts for the goals to come to fruition. I will listen to all of you, I will stand by you, and when asked to, I will do more than just look into it. Let's create ripples of change and move mountains together. Thank you so much.
The time taken by the speaker was 3 minutes and 43 seconds.
Thank you, Priyanshi. With this, we move to the rebuttal round. I first open the floor for questions for Elizabeth coming from the side of Priyanshi. You have 15 seconds to post your questions in the chat box.
Can I speak my question if that's okay?
All right, but please note that cross-questioning won't be allowed.
No problem. Elizabeth, I wanted to ask you that the student union in the past has failed to, take any stance on important issues like cancellation of exams and the strict classes during the second wave when other student unions like the LSR were actively running campaigns for the same. And, there have been deletion of feminist and Dalit literature, namely the poem Draupadi, in the English honors curriculum, and so many socio-political changes have occurred. What do you think has changed over the past year, and how have the developments really? How will the developments push you to take a stance on all of them this year?
Okay.
This is a student council, not a students' union. Please keep that in mind. Okay, I say this because the nature of the council in this college is different. We are there to take care of the well-being and whatever students require, right? And we've tried to maintain it in that spirit all these years, not try and politicize the campus. I'm saying this not just in response to what Priyanshi has raised, but generally the feeling that is there amongst many students that a more proactive role is necessary. So try and look at what we can do as an institution with the goals and objectives that we have in mind. Okay, thank you.
To an extent, I think ma'am has answered my question somehow. But I feel like, as I said in my speech, I had expectations when I started last year. But it's okay when, sometimes your expectations are not met. You sort of, and I also mentioned in my speech that I have learned during my tenure. So that learning has helped me to make sort of a better agenda, and I know what are my limitations and to what extent I can work and what I cannot do. So I have not added anything that I can't do. I can do what I can do has been added, and what I can't do and what is not allowed for the student council, and as ma'am said, we're not a students union. So what's not allowed for the student council, I can't do. So I've not promised anything like that. I have my personal voice. I do raise my personal voice, but as a student council member, I cannot, have an opinion like that. I hope you understand. But yeah, ma'am has sort of answered my question. That question.
It is not
A little
as if
bit.
we disallow something. Please, Elizabeth, stand corrected. It is not that as if you are not allowed to do so. This is the
But
nature
ma'am,
of
we're
the.
the student council.
Just a minute, Elizabeth. When I am speaking, I would like you to listen. This is the nature of our college, the union that council that functions under the in the college. So nobody is disallowing it. You know, every institution has certain core principles, aims, objectives, and all these years we have kind of upheld this tradition. Nobody is disallowing it, and we have to just, I believe, keep up with the tradition.
Thank you, ma'am. Also, thank you, Elizabeth and Priyanshi. The floor is now open for questions for Priyanshi coming in from Elizabeth. Would you like to type them in the chat box or ask her directly?
I'll just say it.
Just before
So
you go
you-
on, just give me 1 second.
Okay.
This is a request
Sure,
to all other members in the meeting. I request you to not spam the chat box right now with your questions. The floor will be opened in some time for questions coming in from your side. So please wait. Thank you. Elizabeth, please go on.
Yes, so you had mentioned basically dissemination of electronic devices and data cards. That was sort of tried by the student council last year. So, and there was a like dearth of funds. How are you going to make sure you can do this this year? Do that this year?
All right. So the agenda that I presented was a very preliminary draft of all the things that I feel should come to fruition in the next academic year. I was not cognizant that y'all had tried to already put into focus all of that, and I did not know that last year there was a dearth of funds. I also wanted to collect inputs from everybody. I mean, you obviously saw that during the SE elections group, and I wanted to circulate a Google form wherein I would ask for ideas from the students on how they should think I would be able to do that, and how they think that I will be able to mobilize their efforts better, so that our voices are heard all across the not just JMC administration, but DU administration in general. But that couldn't happen since we were not allowed, to circulate Google Forms. But if and after I become the president, I'm gonna talk to everybody. I'm gonna have their input. All right.
So that brings us to the end of the first round of rebuttals. We'll now move on to the second round of rebuttals, which will invite questions from the audience. So you'll be given 15 seconds to send in your questions. We'll first invite questions for Elizabeth. Please post them in the chat box. Your 15 seconds start now.
Okay, so we have a question from Pavni Khurana, 190393. The question is, our college doesn't have SC, ST, OBC reservation. What will be the purpose of the cell that you both have proposed? Elizabeth, this is for you.
So basically, there's a minority cell in our college if people are aware of it. So, and also, yeah, so basically, I am thinking of working in collaboration with them to have this SESC OBC cell. Yes, our college does not have reservation for them, but that does not mean we don't have SESC OBC students and we cannot sort of invalidate their experiences. And we should give them a space to like sort of talk about themselves and connect with each other, and maybe talk about their literature and their not, I won't say culture, but their literature and Dalit and other Bahujan media and everything. So they should have like a platform to connect and talk about their uh, literature and other stuff, just as others do. I think like as important as an LGBTQIA plus community or a cell is. That's how important. That's how important SC, ST, OBC cell is. I just feel that it's important for representation.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Your 1 minute of answering the questions has elapsed, and you were able to answer one question. Now, moving over to the rebuttals round for Priyanshi, I request the audience to post their questions in the chat box. Your 15 seconds start now.
We have a question from Ria Saji, 190421. The question is, no general body meetings were organized in the past year for ensuring accountability to the union. How can you assure that now the general body meetings will be organized when they were not in the past year?
I don't think that question is for me because I was not a part of the student council last year. Ria, can you confirm if that question was for me or Elizabeth?
Okay, this was for Elizabeth. So there is another question by Gayatri Chabra, 190403. What's your stance on NEP, Priyanshi, and why?
So I don't stand with the NEP. The cabinet approved the draft of the new education policy, and while the government claims that it is aimed at increasing access to and equity in education, the closer understanding of the details reveal quite otherwise. So I think so because it plans to bring in the 4-year undergraduate programs back, and there is no mention of reservations. A lot of people from marginalized sections find it hard to fund 3-year degrees, and how do you think they're going to be able to fund and finance 4-year ones? Most colleges do not even have the infrastructure to sustain such changes. Yeah, that was my answer.
Thank you, Priyanshi. Your 1 minute has elapsed, and you could answer one question. So this brings us to the final round of the debate, wherein both the candidates will be expected to deliver their closing remarks. You'll be given 1 minute to do so. I request Elizabeth to go first. Starts now.
If elected, I promise to do the best in my capacity towards JMC alongside you. We are already in this together, so let's work together and make our mark. Lastly, if any of you have been to JMC canteen, you might have noticed that Maggie has been added to the menu, and I have kept my promise. So you can trust me. Please vote for me. आप सब मेरे लिए vote जरूर करना. എല്ലാവരും എനിക്ക് വേണ്ടി vote ചെയ്യുക. Thank you, and that's my last remark.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Himanshi, could you please announce the time taken by her to deliver the closing remarks?
The time taken was 29 seconds.
Thank you. Moving over to Priyanshi. Priyanshi, I request you to deliver your closing remarks. You'll have 1 minute to do so, and your time starts now.
All right. So in my concluding remarks, I just want to elucidate how the current pedagogical system, especially at DU, has been really flawed. And even the flawed version is pretty out of reach for so many people. It does not concern itself with who wants to study, but with who has the wherewithal to avail that education. I stand for nudging the administration to provide us with the kind of environment where we can empathize with each other, engage and think critically, and democratize our campuses. We need mentorship, resources, and strong alumni networks to be able to achieve all of my aforementioned goals. As I mentioned, the agenda that I shared with all of you was a preliminary document entailing all the things that I believe should come to fulfillment within the next 1 year. And if you echoed with any of it, consider voting for me. Thank you very much.
The time taken by the candidate was 54 seconds.
Thank you, Himanshi. Thank you, Priyanshi and Elizabeth. So this brings us to the end of all the rounds that were planned for the presidential debate. I thank each one of you for having been part of the meeting today. And now I request Sushila ma'am to deliver her closing remarks.
You closed it so soon. Why don't you invite more questions from the floor?
Ma'am, as per the guidelines that were issued on the website, there were 2 rounds that were there for rebuttals and 1 minute each.
Meher, throw it open for students to ask questions, please. Don't go by the
Alright.
law. This is not a debate in that sense.
All right, ma'am. So we'll open the floor for questions once again.
The one who is attending, let them ask questions, okay? And let them decide who it is for, okay? Tell them to identify who the question is directed towards whom, and then let that person answer, okay?
All right,
And
ma'am. Thank you.
you need in time, you just make sure that, it doesn't become too long, okay?
All right, ma'am. So the floor is now open for questions. Arzu, I request you to take up the questions, please.
We have a question from Sangvi and it is directed towards Priyanshi. Priyanshi, what are the scholarships and distributions you were talking about?
Right. So I mentioned the government disbursement of certain scholarships, and so basically DU every year provides both need-based and merit-based scholarships. 18, I think 18 or 13 is the number for the undergraduate ones, 2 for the postgraduate ones, and about 86 for departmental specific scholarships, which have not reached people who were selected for them. I mean, who could avail them. The money did not reach them, so I wanted to push for that. And some of those scholarships that DU provides are the DU Women Association book grants, and there are several other ones that I was talking about.
Elizabeth, no general body meetings were organized in the past year for ensuring accountability of the union. How can you assure that the now general body meetings will be organized when they were not in the past year?
So we were supposed to organize a few general body meetings. That's when COVID had hit us the most, and because of which we were not able to organize that. So it's not that we did not want to or did not decide to, but there were some unforeseen circumstances because of which we were not able to. This year, I'm sure that if I become the president, I would organize a general body meeting probably once in every 2 or 3 months, and whenever it's necessary, there will be a form which where you would fill in your grievances, suggestions, and I would answer them. And um, that would I think that would you know make sure that the student council is accountable enough.
Ria,
We have
are you a third year student, Ria? You are, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, this is a college. This is not a company where we will have a general body meeting of students. The student council is there working through the presidents and vice presidents of the societies and departments, and they in turn interact with their own department colleagues and get back to us. So never do we ever have a general body meeting, Ria. I know if in the first year perhaps you were there physically in college. I'm just saying this. This is not a company or a shareholder kind of a thing arrangement. This is a college, an institution of higher education. Okay. Now I'm not defending anyone here. I'm just clarifying because I think as students you need to know general body meetings are usually in companies. Okay. Thank you.
we have a question from Dia Das. This one is for Priyanshi. One of your agendas is planning out safe reopening of the college, but probably a third wave of COVID is expected. So how do you plan to go about it, especially for the students who live outside of Delhi?
So when I began my speech, I myself mentioned that I'm an outstation student. I hail from a small town in Uttar Pradesh. It's called Bareilly. And the COVID situation has been quite bad here as well. And that point in my agenda, so I do not stand with opening of colleges at least for the rest of this semester. I will try to push for a hybrid mode if at all I've been asked to do so. But if the due vice chancellor and the administration next year decide that we need to open the colleges, I will consult every single one of you to be able to draft a very smart and systematized plan for a phased reopening of colleges. I did not mean that for the current semester, because I'm cognizant that the third wave is about to happen. And yeah.
Our next question is from Aditi Mehra. This one is for Elizabeth. Why do you think there is a need for a college bulletin board, considering we already have a notice board on the JMC website, which is regularly updated by the website committee with all the information with respect to college society and departments?
I just want to say that we have a college website, and yes, the information is updated. But I feel like there are a lot of events and that are held by societies and departments, which sort of, you know, are not updated on the college website, which can be, if not, then we can have a bulletin or something like that on our social media. So like it gives you a space where every information is reached out to you. So you get every information about every event or any other thing that happens in the college, organized by the student council or a society department. So you are always aware, even though the website is great, but a lot of events are and other information which are disseminated by societies and departments go missing on the website. They're not on the website, and we need them to be on the website so that all the students, have access to it.
Our next question is from Vanshika Arora. This is for Priyanshi. What are your views about the saffronization of history syllabus?
Okay. So I know that the changes proposed focus more on the Hindu mythology and religious texts and diminishes the importance of Muslim rule. And I know that the references to Dalit politics during the period between around 1850s to 1950 has been absent from the syllabus. And the ancient secular texts such as Kautilya's Earth Shastra and poems of Kalidas have been removed, and I obviously I don't support it because it's not a very inclusive change, and it is just I believe that it's just been put in place to further ingrain the government's agenda, and actually agenda is not even the right word. I feel like it's propaganda more like it, and students are definitely not going to benefit from such changes.
Our next question is from Pranavi Sharma. My question is for Elizabeth. How do you plan to support the sports student since they are as well an integral part of the college?
I feel like in an online mode, I have like not a lot to do. I am sort of lacking, I would say, if everything goes on in an online mode, but if things go offline, obviously I would so have a diet specifically for sports students in the canteen. And I had also mentioned that achievements of the sports students would be regularly updated on the website so as to make sure that you achieve something and that achievement is acknowledged by the college and you get the acknowledgement that you deserve. Um, Not just sports students specifically, but our sports teams, they're doing a great job, and I think that needs to be acknowledged. Um, so yes, or through an online mode as well, I can do that. Like we can do that on the website. We can always acknowledge the achievements of the sports students. But when things go offline, I can do a bit more than just that.
I think I've covered all the questions in the chat box. Just in case I've missed anybody's question, I request them to post it again.
We'll be closing the debate after this. So if anybody has any more questions to ask to the candidates, I request you to kindly post it in the chat box. We'll wait for another 10 seconds.
We have a question from Namya Jain. Priyanshi, you stated that you'll be circulating a Google form for taking views and problems of students. But since we are all in an online mode and won't take it longer than expected to take an action on their respective problems and other suggestions. So is that really feasible?
Personally, I do think that it's feasible because, because of the dearth of options. I mean, how else would you want me to connect with every single one, every single student of the college? I cannot possibly call everyone, and we are gonna hold meetings which will enable me to talk to you one on one. But interacting with more than 1,000 students, I feel like Google Form seemed like the only smart option to me, and you can send in your queries, and it will probably take me a day or so to go through all of them and talk to the teacher advisors and come up with a plan to address them. So I think it is feasible.
Thank you, Priyanshi. We have a question from Pranavi Sharma again. My question is again to Elizabeth. The Sports Council has been trying to get a proper menu for sports students to maintain their diet, but hasn't got any thumbs up from the last 2 years. What would you do if you're elected as the student body president?
If I'm elected, I think we're going to sit down with the sports president and vice president, and we're going to maybe take down a list of uh, things that we can provide as a part of the uh, diet for sports student, and I will definitely work on it. Like, I obviously I can't promise, but I can definitely promise you that I will try my 101% working on it. So you would maybe get a better result than before, if I'm elected as president.
Elizabeth, we have another question for you from Shruti. You've mentioned that you want to introduce a collective that serves as a safe space for SC, ST, OBC students and students of the LGBTQIA community. How do you plan to go about this, considering that this was something that was mentioned in your agenda last year as well but wasn't implemented?
So as I said before, I had a lot of expectations, like, you know, from uh, like what I can do, and with my I won't say power basically, but something of that sorts. But this year, as I said, I have learned a lot through my tenure, and I know how to work around stuff, and I know what I can work with and what I cannot work with. So this year, there were some hurdles that we had during my tenure last year, which won't be the case this year, I hope. And so I feel that this year, I would be sort of successful, hopefully, in achieving most of my points in my agenda. Of course, I'm aiming to achieve all of them, but there are certain limitations. But this year, obviously, uh, I have insights, and I know like how to overcome what limitations, and I will definitely work on it. I will definitely work on it, and I'm pretty confident about yes, the OBC committee and committee for LGBTQIA plus community.
Uh,
Meher, just want to clarify, since there are so many students on this program here and the YouTube link, students, you are asked to send your achievements, your whatever you have done to the website committee. Your departments are informed about it periodically. So please avail of all this opportunity that is there. Unless you are proactive, the website committee cannot be updated, will not be able to update the website. So this is something which I wish to bring to your notice because somebody raised this question and I thought it should be brought to your notice. And please do so. Thank you.
Priyanshi, we have two questions which are overlapping. Um, how are you going to approach the formalization of Pehchan QC in a sensitive manner that will ensure the safety and privacy of its members?
So, all right. I feel like that is a very umbrella question, and to be able to do that, I will have to take into account that a lot of people, be it the working staff at JMC, and maybe sometimes the students do not even know what the Pehchan queer collective stands for, and what the LGBTQIA community goes through and all of that. Though I feel like it is imperative that we have some sensitization drives in place before I go about the formalization. But obviously that would have to be advised by the members of the queer collective themselves.
Our next question is from Pranavi Sharma to Elizabeth. You mentioned that you will have online study support material. You planned to do it last year as well, but we didn't see that happening.
So last year, I was not the one who talked about study material. It was one of my other um, person who was standing for vice president, vice presidency. Anyways, so we had tried for peer tutoring during the second wave with the COVID care initiative of JMC. We had tried to work on it, but there was some uh, differences from the departments a little. So I would try to work on it in a better way with a better plan this year. So as to make sure that it happens. Peer tutoring, in the sense there is a mentor-mentee program, and the database idea was not part of my agenda last year. It was from like it's not like it was a part of someone else's agenda, but this year I thought this is something that we can do and we should do it, not in the sense that we have an app because we don't have the funds for it, but in the sense we have a column or segment in our website where everyone can avail notes and study material for their uh, course, basically.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Priyanshi, you mentioned inclusivity for those outside of Delhi. How will you ensure that resources reach those in remote areas without good network connections, inaccessible, etc.?
All right, another umbrella question. So again, to be able to do that, I mentioned one of the crucial points and one of the most vital points in my agenda was the fact that I'm gonna make it a point that electronic devices and data cards are reached and supplied to those who need them the most, and people who cannot afford good network connections and live in accessible areas. So obviously we are going to address the root cause of it. That is how inclusivity as the end goal will be achieved.
Elizabeth, another question for you. A lot of your agendas were not fulfilled. How do you ensure that this won't happen again this year?
Hello, hi. Yes, again, I had a lot of expectations from the capacity I had as a vice president. That was not the case. But as a president, I hold a different capacity, and I feel, that sort of gives me a space to work and fulfill most of my agendas, most of them, hopefully all of them, but most of them. And there was the second wave, because of which we were working on the COVID care initiative of JMC, and there were a lot of unexpected things that happened. and we had to organize a few events in between, um, because of which we were not able to work on my agenda specifically. And even though like I had sort of proposed it in between, so this year the difference is that I am going to make sure that my agenda is what I work on first, along with other, maybe organize other events, but at the same time working on the agenda is so important, because these are promises that I've made to you, right? And if I can't fulfill these promises, then I don't deserve to have this position. But at the same time, last year I had a limited capacity, which I am really hoping that you understand. And this year it's a different thing. And this year I promise you that my agenda, whatever I've given on my agenda, most of the things would be fulfilled, and you would get what I've given, like whatever I've given on my agenda, you would get that. Yeah.
Thank you, Elizabeth. All right, so all the questions mentioned in the chat box have been covered. If anybody wishes to ask anything else, you have 10 seconds. Kindly drop in your questions in the chat box. Priyanshi, we have a question for you. Priyanshi, Elizabeth mentioned that the council already tried distributing electronics and data packs, but due to the dearth of funds, couldn't do so. How will you raise funds?
I already answered that question in the first half when Elizabeth questioned that to me directly, but I'll go over it once again. So I said that I will try to mobilize efforts from all of JMC and people who do not even lack um, electronic devices and data cards to even stand for those who do, and come together as friends, come together as a collective, and mobilize efforts to be able for us to be able to reach out to the due vice chancellor, and I'm sure there is some mechanism at center through which we'll be able to address all of that.
I just want I want to make a correction here. It is the college which dispersed things. Okay, the council had no role in this. The council didn't even promise anything. I don't know where is this impression being circulated. The student council didn't make any effort last year. The college, yes, did invite applications from students who needed financial help assistance. So let's be very clear, and the fact college has taken many steps in that direction. Thank you.
Any
Thank
other
you so
questions?
much, ma'am. So I think this brings us to the end of the question round, since we don't have any more questions coming in. And so I request Priyanshi and Elizabeth, the floor is once again open for the last time. If there are any additional comments or remarks that you would want to add before we wind up. There are from Elizabeth. All right. So I think we should close the debate. So thank you so much, Elizabeth and Priyanshi, for answering the questions and delivering your speeches. It has been great to listen to both of you. Also, I would like to extend a full-hearted thank you to Sushila ma'am as well as Megha ma'am for being with us throughout this time. Last but not the least, we want to thank all the students who joined us for the debate. We hope that through the platform of this debate, we were able to answer most of your questions. And now you'll be able to make an informed choice for the post of your president. Also, I missed the name of Ma'am Alka. Thank you so much, Ma'am Alka, for being with us throughout this time. So with this, we would like to end today's debate. And I would thank everybody for joining in. Let's hope that we make an informed choice in electing our president. All the best to both the candidates. So thank you.
Ma'am, can we start leaving?
Yeah, please leave.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.